this video, we will be covering the straightforward topic of gear, bike, flat tires, because it happens. If you haven't had one, it's only a matter of time, especially if you're doing training for half Ironman, full Ironman races, the amount of time you spend on the road. Maybe if you're doing it indoors on a trainer, you could experience a flat if you have a wheel-on trainer. Excuse me. But you don't want to be out there, out at the Ironman Traverse City 70.3, riding along, you're doing great, you're fourth in your age group, doing awesome out there, all of a sudden, boom, you got a flat. Boom, you try your fix a flat gear, or boom, you don't have it, and then you got to wait for bike tech or bike support or something like that to come along. During a race, it's not the time to figure out how to change tires. First, I had experience when they had a 70.3 in Kansas. Got into transition on race morning. My front tire was flat. Went back, changed the tube. Thought everything was good. Did the swim, come out, flat again. Tried one more tube. Couldn't get it to work. Pinched it, pinched flat. Tried the patch, didn't work. Frustrated. My day was done. I didn't have a front wheel. There was no bike tech. Everybody else has already had a transition. The bike techs were on the course, so there's no opportunity. But in retrospect, what I had was Zip 404 wheels for the first time. I didn't understand the deep rim wheels. I didn't understand the valve extenders and all the stuff I needed in order to make my transition, or to have a proper transition set up, to have the bike repair gear that I needed to make it work. Because unfortunately, it took a special inner tube where you can remove the core and put the extender on, and it was just a mess. And trying to make it work, and somebody threw me their tube to try, and it didn't work. Just frustrating. So now's the time to be thinking about this stuff. The race season is kind of a little bit away right now, especially in off season. Now's the time to either change your tubes as practice, make sure you have all the proper gear, and then make sure you know how to use it. Like I said, in practice, or if you're out riding along and you get it flat, it's a great time to practice. Set your stopwatch and figure it out. So flat tires, you don't want them, don't want to deal with them. You got tubulars, basically you can either take a spare with you and make sure you have your CO2 and a nozzle for it to fill it up. But basically you're going to have to break the glue, pull that rim off, and then get the new tire on. Maybe use the existing glue. Hopefully there's enough left over. Get that tire back on and then inflate it up, and hopefully you can keep going. And there's also inflation kits that have a sealant you can inflate in the tire. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. If the hole's big enough, you're not going to get it. And now they're making tubeless tires that has sealant already built in them. So if you get a pinhole or something like that, it automatically fills it up. All you got to do is refill it, maybe with air. But we're going to talk about clinchers, because personally, that's my preference. I don't like to use tubulars. I sold the tubular wheels I had after Ironman Kansas back in 2010, I believe. Excuse me. And went back to clinchers only, just because I could change them a lot quicker. I'm a lot more confident with them. I have a flat, I'm pretty confident I can take care of it. But you also got to know how to change them, how to potentially do a patch on them. So I'm just going to run through everything that I have. I've got a Quintana Roo PR6, so it has a little bike box on it, and this is where I use to store my gear for flat tires. As you can see, it's seen its fair share of damage and stuff, and when I do ride, I put everything in here. It does latch when it's on there, but all the stuff in there is pretty heavy. So I will put electrical tape around the top and make sure it all stays in there. Just as a little side note, if you do have a bike box on the back, make sure it's secure, that lid didn't pop off, and then you get a flat tire and you look back and it's like, oh crud, this stuff's been spewing all over the road, or you get a penalty for littering because your stuff's all over the road. We're going to go over just what is all you should have in there as a minimum. You should have a tube. If you could take two in there, if you can make them fit in there, great. Because typically, if you got one flat during a race, you come back and if you can check your wheel, check your spokes, whatever in there to see if they're poking through or poking holes in your tire, if you got a pinch flat or something like that. And sometimes you just make a mistake putting the tube back in there, airing it up, and you pinched it and it pops or something like that, or creates another hole. So one tube minimum, two if you've got enough space for it. Tube patch kit. So I took mine out of a little kit just because it didn't fit in there very well. And obviously I need to replace my bag because everything's falling out everywhere. So I do carry a little pocket knife just in case I do have to cut anything off back from the tubular days. So I will open this up, and while I got it all out, put it in the new bag because this one's old and cruddy. So the things you need in there is a tube patch kit. So I got these little patches. Notice they are a little bit worn and torn, but this is my last option. If my tube does not work, I've got a little patch kit that I can put on there. And these are self-adhesive patches. So they are not the kind that requires glue, because that's kind of a pain in the butt to get stuff on there and let the glue set and then hit the road. So just make sure you know what kind you're getting. There's these right here, Super Patch pre-glued. So it's a nice little convenient kit. Just take it out, pre-glued. Just stick them on your tires. Just know what you're working with, know how to put them on there. There's a little piece of sandpaper. You can scuff up the tube a little bit to make it adhere better. So just make sure you're aware of that. And then what I've got also, this is something we don't need to talk about for this one. So make sure you have your tubes, a tube patch kit, just in case if you pinch that, you only got one tube and you pinch it again, there's still opportunity to save it, or you could save the original tube by going through and patching it and then airing it back up and ready to go. But so make sure you have a CO2. I do carry two. I've got enough room in there. So I just have a little nozzle screw on the top. It punctures it, and then you just back it out a little bit to let the air out, and then you squeeze it back on there. You can still save a little air. So throughout a race, if you have another problem, you might have a little bit left over to use the other one too. But typically, once you've used it, like on a training ride or something like that, you need to take the cartridge out and throw it away, because it won't save it over time. It'll just keep leaking out. So make sure you have the CO2 nozzle, levers. If you're not skilled and adept at taking the tire off, there's a little trick to it. We'll kind of go over that a little bit later when maybe I need to change my tire and make a little video of that. But the levers will help you get the tire off, because you have to get in there, cinch it off, and pull all the way around, get it over the rim. So tire levers help help out tremendously to get that off, so you're saving your fingers if you're not adept at ways to get that tire over the rim and pop it off real quick. The other one is I carry little wipes, because when you're doing all this stuff, your hands get gross and nasty, and especially if you're doing a half Ironman, and if you're mile 10 on the bike, the last thing you want to do is have grubby hands, and you're doing your food and nutrition and all this other stuff later on down the road. So it's kind of nice. They're you know, I do Grease Monkey wipes. As you can tell, this has been here for a minute. It just slides in the side. You open it up. Make sure you take all your trash with you. So if you use patches, don't leave the old tubes sitting alongside the road. Don't leave all your trash and everything. Make sure you either put it back in your bike box, stuff in your pockets or something like that. But make sure you take all this stuff with you. The other key component is, what I've got is valve extenders. So I run 808 zip wheels on my tri bike. So when I'm out there, a regular, I can get an 80 millimeter stem. Problem is, I need an extender on there to get outside the 808. Otherwise, I cannot inflate it. So basically, you put that tube in, there's no way to inflate it unless you have a valve extender. Now, I've got these same extenders on my current inner tube, but if there's a problem, can't get them off for whatever reason, then I've got one spare in there just in case. But the key is, you got to remove the valve core, and you got to be able to screw these in. So you got to have this little plastic adapter. So you need to make sure that you have everything for your wheels. If you're running a disc wheel and you need a special adapter to get in there and get that inner tube out, or you need an extender for the valves or anything like that, you put that stuff in there, because if you're not prepared on race day, it will come in and bite you in the rear end. So I'm just going through. I've also got chain link repair kit just in case I throw the chain and chunk it off or something like that. Haven't had to use it during a race. Wish I had it, and that's why I have it, is another race where my chain got caught and then a link popped off. I had no way of fixing it, so that's why I went and got that and just stuffed it in there in the bike box with everything else. Like I said, I mean, these are the key things. It's not that big of a deal. Not that much stuff to it. This little pile right here could be the difference between a quick little detour for 5, 6, 7 minutes to change your inner tube, and the difference of not finishing your race just because maybe there's not enough bike techs to go around, or even if you get to a point where a bike tech comes along for whatever reason, maybe if you're running tubulars that just don't have anything that'll help you fix your wheel. It's like kind of like clinchers, because you can replace the tube and keep going. But this little pile right here, maybe a total of $20. Stuff in your bike box or in your jersey, or I've even put them in water bottles. and put them on the bike, my bike rack, not bike rack, my water bottle holder that I have mounted to the seat of my bike. I've got a water bottle that I used to put this gear in before I had a bike box on my bike. So this could be the difference between not finishing your race and finishing your race, regardless of what it does to your time if you have a flat out there. But I just want to make you guys aware because I've seen this. I've experienced it. I wasn't prepared to change my inner tube, and especially with the valve extenders, it just had all kinds of problems. I didn't really think it through. And that was the first time I had that experience in 2010. I've been racing since 2004 at that point. So just be aware, you need to get this stuff kind of ironed out, especially during the off season. So not only are you doing your workouts and you're getting prepared for the race, the training, you don't want to get derailed on race day by not being prepared if you run into a flat. So make sure, especially if you've got deep dish rim wheels, if you got a Zip 1080 on the back, make sure you got enough valve extenders to get all the way through. Make sure that they're removable. Make sure your inner tube, if you have to put extenders on there, has a removable core. If it doesn't, then you're kind of hosed. So this one right here, it's got a removable core. So you use this little guy, pop it on, and take the core out. So that could be the difference between a good race day and a bad race day, is if you are missing this tiny little plastic piece because you didn't think it all the way through. So, and just in case you screwed that up, that's why I carry 2 CO2s on my bike, just in case you jack it up, because you don't want to be dependent on the bike tech out there. You know, they do the best they can, but with 2,500, 3,500 people running around, and everybody, you know, they're more, especially if you got pros in your race, they're more focused on the pros. So just make sure, especially like Traverse City, you have got a lot of hills out there. So if you do a little bit of climbing, put a little bit of pressure on there. Who knows what's going on out there? Just be prepared on race day to be able to change your tire. And again, like I said, we'll do another video later where an actual demonstrate taking the tire off a regular wheel and getting all that fixed up. But if you got any questions or anything like that, you want kind of an example of the things that I used, just send me a note, reply back to the email, drop a comment, and I'll be happy to help you out.